Yes.
Now, tell us about your mindset with that.
It was very much like a death, because the ego will want to maintain status quo. As you know, this is how we survived, Amy. This is how we grew up. This is how we fit in. This is how we belong. This is what success looks like. And I had it. I was driving my GT Bentley Continental. I was the top 4% of all high-end real estate agents in Southern California at that time, and living in my, big $10 million oceanfront house. It looked perfect on the outside. And like I said, it was never ending. I would just keep going in that direction. And so I say my inner child, she was like, no, I can't do this anymore. This is not authentic. This is not what we came here to do. This is compromising and obligating so many parts of me that I didn't realize, because as inner children, we're taught how to compromise or obligate those parts of ourselves, again, to fit in and to belong to the family, to the tribe. I tell my clients, you're not going to get a job at 5 years old and get an apartment. You have to conform. And those ways that we conformed or trained ourselves to fit in, how we saw mom and dad behave or what they expected of us, or how to meet their needs or get our needs met, that became our patterns, our unconscious or subconscious patterns that we have recycled over and over and over again. So I'll be the good girl. Mommy and daddy will love me then. I'll be quiet. I'll be invisible. I'll be whatever they need me to be. Well, the light side of that is we're beautiful chameleons. We can get along with anyone, everywhere, anytime, any background. And yet the shadow side of that is I've lost myself. I don't know what I like. I don't know who I am. It's giving yourself away over and over and over again. And my inner child's like, I'm done with this. I'm done with all these stories. I'm done with all these beliefs. And so she imploded it. She was so bold and so brave. And I'm so very grateful that she got me onto my path, because I couldn't see the forest from the trees.
So when you say imploded, what exactly happened?
Oh, I'll share that part too. I went through a very scary divorce, and I picked the perfect, again, full responsibility. I created it. I gave that soul the script to play as my ex-husband, and he played it perfectly as the villain in my movie, I say. And he was very scary, and he said, I'm not going to make this nice. I'm not going to make this easy. And it wasn't. And so it was dismantling not just that relationship, it was being stripped of everything. He wanted to punish. And so taking everything. And then I happened to have a business partner who I didn't realize at the time was another version of my ex-husband. And those narcissistic personalities, again, I gave him the script too, and he played it perfectly. And so I was going through a multi-million-dollar divorce and a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, business loss, arbitration, I should say, at the same time. And I literally was driving in my car one day, Amy, from divorce attorney to real estate attorney. I'm back in Orange County, and I'm crying my eyes out. And I'm like, why? I'm not a bad person. Like, I've never screwed anybody over, not in business, like, what is this? And that's when they said, you need to know, you need to have the compassion and the empathy, but above all else, you need this experience. This isn't a punishment. And so I could hear source even back then. I just was mostly listening to my ego.
So was it auditory?
Ego.
Was that
I hear. Oh yes, I'm clairaudient as well. And that was one of the first I'll say expanded gifts that I was given was the auditory. So the clairaudience came first, and then clairsentience, clairvoyance, and being able to see and everything else. But that was the first level. And like I said, I had always heard source, but I mostly lived out of fear and ego. And so I tell my clients, if you hear on your right side, that's usually your higher self, your inner child, your creative side, and your creator side. Left side will be mostly ego, analytical, fear-based, blah, blah, blah. Having that awareness. So I heard it. And of course, it didn't give me any comfort at that time. I just wanted it to stop. And I did. I thought more than one time of ending things, because I couldn't handle the suffering. And obviously I did not. And that was, again, all necessary to get me to where I am today, and to surrender and to humble those parts of myself, but also to get deeper into the healing. And that's when check work showed up, Paul Check's work. And I was doing a stretching class with my partner, who was also trained at the Check Institute as well as I was, but he was more of a physical coach. And just stretching the fascia, I started crying and I wanted to throw up. And I went outside and I was like, okay, if this is what is stored in my body, because the consciousness of your cells also retain traumas and events and things. And I also do past life work, because it's not just this lifetime that we've carried stuff, it's many lifetimes. And so that's why I say a multidimensional healing or multidimensional coach, because we do go through all of that in my sessions. And I said, well, if this is what's stored in the consciousness of my cells, clearly I need to go deeper into my healing. And that's what really set it off. So I say the divorce and the lawsuits were catalysts. And then a year later, I didn't realize my ex-husband had put me on personal guarantees. And yes, and there was
Like to
the tune of like $7 million. And yeah. And so they were looking for him. He had disappeared, and they thought, well, maybe I was holding money for him. I was like, oh no, he screwed me before he screwed you. So, so even in that moment, and that's the first time my inner child showed up to me, and I was like, okay, we can't bypass this. And back then I just talked to my ego to try and comfort those parts of me that were scared and worried and concerned. And even though I knew, okay, this is an illusion, we're just playing a game, but you cannot spiritually bypass. I had to go through it. And so I sat there in my living room and I asked my ego, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I heard all the excuses, all the fears. They take your money, they take your car, they take your business, they take your identity, they take all of it. And then I heard that little voice again on the right side, and she said, well, they can't take me. And that was it. I was done. I was done with that whole drama. I felt this complete peace run through my body and just breathe. When you can breathe deeply, you know that energy is clear. And I was like, she's absolutely right. I will always have a place to go, food to eat, friends and family. This is just stuff. This is everything outside of me I've identified my ego with. And none of it is true. None of it is authentically me. There was my authenticity speaking for the first time, and I could really hear her because I had surrendered myself up enough to actually hear it. And I pulled my laptop out. I typed a letter to my attorney at the time, and I said, thank you for participating with this lesson for me. Whatever you and the other attorneys have to do, because it was like multiple suits going on. I said, by all means, continue on, but I'm complete with this lesson. Thank you. And 2 weeks later, he sent me an email and he said, congratulations, they dismissed everything. And I typed back and I said, I know because
it was done. You learned the lesson.
Exactly. One thing I share with my clients, when you're complete with the lesson, you're complete. Move on. There'll most likely be another lesson beyond that, but it doesn't have to be that ever again. And it doesn't have to be that dramatic. Once you understand the formula of surrender and how beautiful it can be, it's fast, it's quick, it's easy, it's clean. And that's why the inner child became so paramount in my work, because everyone can relate to their childhood. And that's the easiest gateway to go through. And children are so easy. They're just, you apologize, they're like, that's okay, and they move on. They don't hold grudges. They're beautiful moment to moment experience of innocence. And so it's returning those parts of ourselves to innocence. It's also soul retrieval. I mean, I've taught shamans, I've coached other coaches. That's a big part of my work too, is we love our rituals and we love all of this stuff, but sometimes we just need it to be quick and clean. It doesn't have to be drawn out. We make it a lot harder than it needs to be, Amy. So
yes, of
again,
course.
that's part of it. It's like I needed to know the hard way so I could learn the easier way and teach that.